Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a great show for you tonight. Mr. Tim Bate is standing by over here in the wings.
Good evening, Paul.
Howdy. Ready to play some music?
I am.
We have a great assortment, classic assortment of antique cannabis medicinal containers here to show you a little bit later in the show. We have some film clips. I believe we got Rick Steves' film clip from the ACLU of Washington tonight. And we'll be taking your phone call in just a few minutes, so stay tuned as we bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
All right, welcome to the Hemp News segment of our show. Regulations have been finalized to allow for the sanctioned use and dispensing of medical cannabis in the state of Arizona and in the District of Columbia, or Washington, D.C. In Arizona, representatives from the Department of Health Services have approved rules governing the state's newly implemented Arizona medical marijuana program. They began accepting applications in Arizona yesterday and got the first 115 applications in and approved 45 applications on the very first day the program went into effect there in Arizona. Arizona voters directed the state to approve regulations regarding the use and distribution of medicinal cannabis last November when they decided in favor of Proposition 203. Program rules, physician certification forms, and answers to frequently asked questions are now available online from the Arizona Department of Health Services. Arizona patients began qualifying this week, and dispensary applications will be accepted in Arizona beginning June 1st. All patients initially approved by the state will have the option to cultivate their own marijuana. However, once the dispensaries are implemented, patients who reside within 25 miles of the state licensed dispensary will lose this option once these facilities are up and running later this fall. In the District of Columbia, city leaders have signed off on long-awaited rules regulating patients' use and access to cannabis. Those rules are expected to take effect today, April 15th. The newly finalized regulations will permit D.C. officials to allow as many as 10 cultivation centers and 5 dispensaries in the District of Columbia. Washington, D.C. permit applications are anticipated to be available by next Monday. The forthcoming rules implement facets of Washington's I-59, the legalization of marijuana for medical treatment initiative, a 1998 municipal ballot measure which garnered 69% of the vote in Washington, D.C., yet was never implemented. Under the new regulations, qualifying D.C. patients will be able to obtain medical cannabis at licensed dispensaries, but then the personal cultivation of marijuana at home will not be permitted in Washington, D.C. Their forthcoming program is limited to residents of the District of Columbia and is not reflective of a broader change in federal policy. 15 states and the District of Columbia have authorized physician-supervised use of cannabis since 1996. Our next story is from Olympia, Washington. Washington State House lawmakers passed amended legislation, Senate Bill 5073, that seeks to establish a regulatory system for the distribution of cannabis to qualified patients. Washington Senate lawmakers had previously approved a version of this legislation. The measure must now be reapproved by Senate lawmakers before heading to the governor's desk. According to media reports, Washington's Governor Christine Kilgore has stated that she has concerns about the language of the bill. The measure does not limit existing legal protections afforded to patients who elect to cultivate their own cannabis for medical purposes. The legislative proposal also seeks to enact added legal protections, avoiding arrest altogether for patients who voluntarily register with the state. Washington's top federal prosecutors have threatened to crack down if the state goes forward with the proposal to legalize medical marijuana dispensaries and growers, putting in jeopardy a bill that's already passed both chambers of the legislature. In a letter to Governor Chris Gregoire on Thursday, U.S. Attorneys Ginny Durkin of Seattle and Michael Ormsby of Spokane wrote that the bill would undermine drug enforcement and could result in an array of prosecutions or civil penalties against dispensary owners and growers, as well as against Washington state regulators enforcing the proposed law. The federal prosecutors in Washington were responding to Gregoire's request a day earlier for clear guidance about the legislative proposal, a sweeping expansion of the state's 1998 voter-approved medical marijuana law. Gregoire said in a statement Thursday evening, quote, "In light of the Department of Justice's guidance, it's clear that I cannot sign a bill that authorizes our state employees to license marijuana dispensaries when the department would prosecute those involved." She pledged to work with lawmakers on a new proposal. The Washington bill, Senate Bill 5073, is the most sweeping rewrite yet of the 1998 initiative legalizing medical marijuana. It's in response to pressure from municipal governments and police unsettled about a statewide boom in dispensaries in Washington state, which were neither specifically allowed nor banned under the existing law. By some estimates, at least 130 dispensaries have sprouted up statewide in the past year and a half, leaving cities and police uncertain whether to crack down on what appears to be illegal sales or to allow much broader access for sick patients who struggle to grow their own legal medicine. As a result, enforcement varies by city, creating pressure on the legislature to act. The pending bill would give Washington, one of the 15 states that allow medical marijuana, one of the most expansive regulatory arrangements in the nation. It would require testing of marijuana to ensure quality and license processors of cannabis-infused foods. It would also ban medical marijuana use from being a factor in housing and child custody issues. A marijuana group called Sensible Washington, whose spokesmen have appeared on our show earlier this year, are gathering signatures to put a legalization initiative on the ballot next November. From Toronto, Ontario, schizophrenic patients with a history of cannabis use demonstrate superior neurocognitive performance compared to non-users, according to findings of a meta-analysis to be published in the journal Schizophrenia Research. Investigators at the University of Toronto Institute of Medical Sciences performed a meta-analysis to determine the magnitude of the effect of cannabis consumption on cognition in subjects with schizophrenia. 8 studies met inclusion criteria, yielding a total of 942 subjects, and neurophysiological tests were grouped into 7 domains: general cognitive ability, intelligence, selective, sustained, and divided attention, and executive memory functions. The authors determined, quote, "related statistics of differences in performance all suggest superior cognitive functioning in cannabis-using patients as compared to non-using patients," end quote. The researchers stopped short of attributing subjects' cannabis use to the improved outcome, noting that patients with superior cognitive skills may simply be more likely to acquire cannabis than subjects with lesser abilities. They wrote, quote, "given that all studies that met inclusion criteria employed a cross-sectional methodological design poses a challenge and limits the interpretation of our findings. That it is difficult to determine whether it is cannabis itself that triggers alterations in neuropsychological functioning, or if drug-using patients represent a subset of the schizophrenia population who exhibit better neurocognitive performance. Cannabis likely has modest effects on neurocognitive function in schizophrenia. Longitudinal designs studying the effects of cannabis abstinence or acute challenges are needed to parse the effects of cannabis per se on cognition in schizophrenia. The full effect of this study, the effects of cannabis use on neurocognition in schizophrenia, will appear in this month's edition of Schizophrenia Research. Next story is from Montana, Helena, the state capital. Members of the Montana Senate resurrected and then passed House Bill 161, which would repeal the state's 6-year-old voter-approved medical marijuana law. Then Montana Governor Schweitzer vetoed that bill. The lawmakers voted 29 to 21 in favor of a GOP-backed measure which had previously stalled in committee in February. House representatives had voted largely along party lines, 63 to 37, in favor of the repeal measure. Governor Brian Schweitzer on Wednesday this week vetoed the bill that would have repealed Montana's medical marijuana law, calling it draconian and contrary to the will of the state voters who approved it in 2004. Schweitzer pointed to the 2004 medical marijuana ballot initiative, which 62% of Montana voters approved. Schweitzer said, quote, "There are many people out there who said there is medicine out there that is not currently legal," Schweitzer said in the veto ceremony at the governor's reception room in the Capitol. The medical marijuana bill was not among the bills the governor vetoed at a public ceremony before a large crowd outside the Capitol, where he used different-sized branding irons that said veto to brand planks of wood to signal some other vetoes. In an interview afterwards, Schweitzer added, quote, "I'm not a doctor, but we've heard from doctors and patients that this medicine helps them," end quote. Separate legislation in Montana, Senate Bills 423 and 434, seek to limit the scope of Montana's existing medical marijuana laws, and House Bill 175, which would allow voters to decide whether or not to repeal the law in 2012, remain pending. Montana is one of 15 states that recognize physician-supervised use of cannabis. To date, no legislatures repealed such a law. From New York, some 3 out of 4, or 74% of Americans, believe that marijuana should be legalized as a medical treatment option in their state, according to an online Harris Interactive poll of 3,171 adults. By contrast, fewer than half of the respondents, or 42%, say they support legalization of marijuana for recreational purposes. Supporters of the marijuana law reform vary regionally, the polls found. Pollsters reported that adults in the East are most supportive of legalizing marijuana for both medical use, 80%, and for recreational purposes at 50%. The West is the next most supportive region of the country, with 76% of the respondents supporting legalizing medical marijuana and 50% endorsing its personal use. In the Midwest, 74% of respondents supported legalizing medical marijuana, but less than 2 in 5, or about 39%, endorsed legalizing its recreational use. And then Southerners were the least supportive of marijuana law reform, with 69% of the respondents endorsing medical marijuana legalization and only 34% supporting the plant's broader legalization. The respondents between the ages of 47 and 65 were the most likely to support legalizing cannabis for therapeutic purposes, while respondents age 18 to 34 were the most likely to back full legalization. Results of a Pew Research poll released earlier this month found that American support for legalizing the adult use of marijuana has risen from 16% approval back in 1990 to 45% today. The complete details and methodology of the Harris Interactive poll is available online at harrisinteractive.com. That's the end of our rather lengthy hemp news segment tonight. We're going to jump over to Mr. Tim Pate. How are you, Tim?
I'm good. That was a very interesting survey the Harris poll put out there, I have to admit. I was very fascinated by that and listening closely.
Yeah. Shows that we have we're split 50-50 here in the East and the West for full legalization.
That's true. But beyond that, more than 3 out of 4 people believe that medical marijuana should be allowed regardless of where you are in the country. And that's a very significant number.
That's true.
It really is. It's a very big number. So hopefully one of these days soon we can turn public policy or public opinion into public policy.
Well, we're working on that through our Oregon Cannabis Tax
that.
Act petition, and so we'll talk more about that as the show goes on, I'm sure.
I think I have a new political hero, too, and might be the governor of Montana, who vetoed all the Republicans' actions up there. That was very brave, and I applaud him for that. So anyway, I think I'll play a little music and watch the pretty pictures, folks.
right.
Thank you.
Mr. Tim Pate. Well, we are taking your phone calls live tonight, so if you have a question for us, you can call us at the number that's there on your screen. It's 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour if you have a question about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, or helping medical marijuana patients. Then this is the place to call. Let your question come, or if you have a specific point of view too. Well, welcome over,
hey,
Tim. You've jumped from point A to B.
Yes, I did. I'm here.
Very good.
You've been jumping all over from point A to B and C and D this week too.
I was in Arizona earlier this
were?
week. They just started accepting medical marijuana applications.
That's right.
Yesterday, I was also in Detroit, Michigan, and visiting our staff and offices there. So, say hello to Ricky and James and Shannon and everybody at the Detroit office if they're watching.
Yeah.
I guess we have a phone call already.
Good.
Welcome to the show, caller.
There you are.
Hi there,
Hey,
Paul.
howdy.
This is Kathy.
Hey, Kathy, how are you doing? You were our guest a couple of weeks ago. You're calling from Spokane. There's been a lot of things going on there in Spokane. I know when you were on the show, you were talking about the jury was out on a dispensary trial. I guess the jury came back and convicted the fellow there in Spokane. Isn't that right?
That's right. That's right. Dispensary owner Scott Shoup was convicted last month as the first case brought against a commercial dispensary owner in Washington State. On Tuesday, he was sentenced, and he was. But Shoup will avoid prison on drug trafficking charges. He was given the lowest term, possible jail term under the state standard sentencing guidelines, which is 6 months.
So he's got to do 6 months in the Spokane jail?
Yeah, well, but Shoup will avoid prison on drug trafficking charges if he can come up with a $5,000 bond.
Yeah, and appeal.
and
appeal the case.
Appeal.
That's right. But then at the same time, just like I read in the Hemp News segment a moment ago, the federal attorney for both of the federal attorneys for both the eastern and western districts of Washington have come out and warned landlords that they could face forfeiture of their property, and warned dispensary operators that they could face federal charges for marijuana. So what kind of effect has this had on there are about 40 dispensaries in
That's
Spokane?
right, Paul. About a month ago, there were approximately 40 dispensaries open here in Spokane. Now all that has changed. For some, signs are posted stating not open, and others have moved out altogether. So it's a pretty grim situation for local medical marijuana patients, not knowing where to go. But with Senate Bill 5073 passed the House on Monday,
provides some hope, but then I guess these U.S. attorneys told
optimistic.
Governor Gregoire that they would prosecute state officials who licensed dispensaries, and so Gregoire now says she's going to try to get the legislature to revise that bill somehow. So it remains to be seen.
Right. Yeah, so we're optimistic up here. We're going to hang in there. We think in the next few weeks we'll probably get some further word on what the situation is. So, but as for now, though, everything's just closed down, and we're closed.
That's
basically
a chilling report.
Well, the dispensaries are closed, but I guess the medical clinics like ours, we aren't closed there. You're still open.
Oh no, yes, the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation Medical Marijuana Clinic is open and doing fine, but we're optimistic that those establishments will be able to get up and open and get some clarity to how they should be run, and clarity to the patients.
There's this chart that I first saw put together by Steve D'Angelo, who runs the largest dispensary in the country, Harborside Health, which has offices in Oakland, California, and in San Jose. And so he says there are 3 levels of risk, and that the highest level of risk, the center of the bullseye, so to speak, for these guys are the people who are growing and selling marijuana, and that they're the ones most likely to be targeted. Then the next level of people are the ones that provide grow equipment and aid in the cultivation in some way. Then outside of that would be people providing other ancillary services. So that's one thing to consider as well. An interesting way to look at it.
Exactly.
Why did they pick on that one grower or that one dispensary? What was it about them that they tried to choose them and pick them out of the crowd? Any idea?
Did the guy shoot?
About which dispensary was that?
The one that was convicted there, Shoot, I think his name is.
Scott Shoop of Change.
Yeah, was he any reason in particular that he was targeted and prosecuted while the other 40 weren't?
I think it had to do with when he was coming over the border of Oregon in '09 and was charged with having several pounds of marijuana.
Yeah, I heard he had charges
so
pending in Oregon as well. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
well, I want to thank you for calling in, Kathy. Kathy's the manager at the THCF clinic out in Spokane, Washington. So thanks for calling,
a lot, Paul.
giving
We'll
us an update.
Talk with you later then.
Forward to seeing you soon.
You know, that makes that's going to get their attention anytime you get the same arrests in multiple states. They're going to think that you're transporting back and forth and doing things like that. So, you know, I was curious why they would pick on him. Yeah, why are they picking on him? Well,
that explains it.
Yeah, that explains it.
I forgot that point. We have a studio audience member who has a question. Go right ahead.
I had a couple of questions. We've got a Octa 2012 coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're circulating those petitions right now to completely legalize marijuana, restore industrial hemp, and help patients as well.
Now, I signed one of the first ones to get it through this. Is this? That's the only time I get to sign, right? I don't get. There's no. If I was to sign again, this would be the incorrect thing to do.
That's right. You're right.
I believe that's correct.
I signed it as well. I was the first person to get to sign it right here on the air, and yeah, I can't sign it again. I can get signatures, but I can't sign it again.
You know, and letting people know that that's the way it is.
Yep.
The demonization of the marijuana seems to me is coming from the federal government via the Schedule I drug.
Yeah. They're saying it doesn't have any medicinal effect. Well, here's a bunch of evidence that when they said it didn't have any medicinal effect, it had, and you know, our patients have evidence every day. Pharmaceutical industry is all chasing for cannabis applications too. So.
And the Congress is the one that put that into effect. That's correct, right?
Yeah, through the Controlled Substances Act of 1971 under Richard Nixon. Oh. And that replaced the Harrison Narcotics Act of 55.
So it seems to me the only way we're really going to get get the demonization taken out of it is to get it removed from Schedule I to Schedule II, and the only way we're going to be able to do that is through Congress.
Yeah. The executive order could do that because they gave the power for scheduling to the executive branch and the Drug Enforcement Administration. And so if somehow the president would order the DEA to change the regulations, that's another way. But Congress could do it too.
Well, all you people out there need to call your Congress and let them know, write the letter, let them know. There's still federal medical marijuana patients. Sounds like a conjecture going on there. They got federal patients getting 300 grams a month, and we cross state lines for them.
They're fine.
Them.
Yeah.
In any case, I just had that statement. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yep.
That's
you make a point.
Several good points there, I think. But
I'd like to say too that all those people who are sending in on a daily basis, their what they print out on their home computer and sign, we get a pile of them every day in the office. So
petitions for the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act. So if you want to sign the petition, you don't want to wait to find, you just want to sign one yourself, you can print that out at Octa 2012, or you can go to cannabistaxact.org, that website there.
Hasn't been a day go by we didn't get some in the mail.
And I'm getting them at my house too.
Very good.
Got a little stack of them.
Excellent.
because my address is on there.
Oh, that's
but we have a caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Good evening. Thank you for taking my phone call.
You're welcome.
Certainly. Thanks for calling.
I'm calling in regards to a patient who has MS and is quadriplegic, and he is in an extended care center in East County. The first question is the extended care center is not very user friendly. He is allowed edibles if somebody brings them in and whatnot, but he's not allowed to use his vaporizer there. And I was curious if there are care centers that are more user friendly to patients.
I have known of some. Yes, the answer is yes. There probably are. You'd have to explore that, cautiously. But I've had friends who were in care, and I was able to take them medicine, and we were able to step out in their courtyard, and he was able to take his medicine right there. So on
but
the
if you're a
property,
quadriplegic, obviously you
harder.
need a team of people to
Yeah,
help you
very
move
much.
around. So
it's harder.
doing
for
it,
them.
stepping out as a quadriplegic
Right.
is a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So much true.
Exactly.
So
It's very
true.
challenging for him
Yeah.
to.
Yes.
I mean, he can eat. He's taken the medicine mainly to stimulate his appetite because he's so
Sure.
underweight.
Sure.
So he can munch on munchies, But the other question is his grower, who's a real good grower, has a hard time getting him enough edibles. Is there any place that he could get a better supply of edibles?
Well, all the different dispensaries that have sprung up around town have edibles, or they like to call them medibles. And
Yeah.
so, there's a bunch of businesses out there. Are you here in the Portland area?
Yes.
So, I can't really direct you to them
Yeah,
right
I know
here
that.
on the show, but because,
They do exist, though.
they're out there, and I don't want to be, they're out there. Just look around. You might check our office for more information where we're not on TV.
Okay, and your office number is at 1-800-723-0188?
Yeah, or if you're here in the Portland area, you can call it locally at 503-235-4606. Now, no one's there now, but there's an answering machine, and you can leave a message, and somebody will get back to you tomorrow or Monday.
Thank you very much. He'll be real grateful for this.
Hope
You're
it
very
helps
welcome.
him a lot.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for helping take care of him.
Yes.
That's really nice of you.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening. I wish I knew a specific facility to refer people to.
I know.
I've heard about some friendly apartments that are medical marijuana friendly places, but
Well, I wouldn't have known if I didn't have the experience myself with a friend of mine who passed away some years back.
Right.
That I just know for a fact that that's where he was, and that's where we delivered his medicine, and I helped him use it sometimes there. So, but we always went outside, out of respect to anybody else inside the building. But yes, yeah, it was. They let that happen.
we have a film clip we're going to roll right now. We'll be back in just a minute to talk about it and take more phone calls and tell you about our display items here tonight from the museum collection.
Go ahead, Eddie. Light up and take a poke. It'll turn you on. Hey, Eddie, this isn't the first time you've tried pot. Okay, we'll give you exactly 30 minutes to make up your mind, to decide for yourself whether pot is worth it.
La, 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 pot, pot, give us some pot. Forget what you are, you can be what you're not. High, high, I wanna get high. Never give it up if you give it a try. Pot, pot, give us some pot. Forget what you are, you can be what you're not. La, 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 la.
Actually, as much as I would like to deny the fact that pot was the beginning of my usage of drugs, it's there as a fact. It was the beginning of my using of drugs.
La, 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 pot, pot, give me some pot. Forget what you are, you can be what you're not. Tough, tough, the world is so tough. And when it gets harder, you can try harder stuff.
And like I didn't care if I lived or died, so I didn't care if I used, shot dope or if I took an OD or what.
I had too much. I was building a big thing up over a week, and I got sick, and I tried to commit suicide.
La, 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 pot, pot, Give me some pot. Get what you are, you can be what you're not. Hip, hip, you wanna be hip. You know it all if you don't take a trip. La, la.
Remember, Eddie, when you were busted? Caught with marijuana in your possession?
Oh, my word.
That is obviously an anti-marijuana propaganda piece from back in the 1960s. So something pulled out from the archives that we keep here at Cannabis Common Sense. And just a little information for you there. You know, I want to tell you that tonight marks the 1-year anniversary of the passing of our friend Jack Herrer. Frequent guest here on the show and author of the seminal book about industrial hemp, The Emperor Wears No Clothes. So I'd like you all out there to send some positive energies for Jack.
Lift one up for him tonight. There you go.
Okay. So we are taking your phone calls tonight. You can call us at 503-235-4606. That's, actually, no, it's 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. And so...
you should make that first announcement again.
Yeah, well, like I said, Jack Herrer has, it's been a year since he passed away. He'd given his last speech at our Hempstock Festival and suffered from a massive heart attack moments thereafter. And so we'd like to just send out our positive feelings toward Jack Herrer. So if you have a question for us, call us at 503-288-4448. I guess we're having some microphone problems.
Are we?
I'm told. Yeah, I've been messing around with the buttons on it. It seems like it's all turned on. I don't know.
Try that one.
I'll try this one.
There you go.
Mic 2.
That's all right. Do we have to pay Scott now that he was on camera?
At the same scale we get
Same
paid.
scale we get paid? Right on.
We have a phone call. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller. Oh, the sound man's got to get back to the sound desk.
Yep.
Hello?
Hello.
There you are.
Now we can hear
Hi,
you.
Paul. Hi, Tim.
Good evening. Good evening.
I have a question because I know that you're such a traveler, and my husband and I are going to Hawaii next month, and I know, like, my card isn't valid in Hawaii.
That's right.
But I'm really concerned, like, you know, medical-wise, I'm going to need medicine.
You know,
and would it be safer for me to, like, go to the THCF clinic there? And
no,
try
I mean, you know, you could get if you have a Hawaii license and a Hawaii residence, then you could get a Hawaii card. I have a Hawaii card, an Oregon card, and a Hawaii card. Those are my only 2 state-issued cards. But, you know, here at Portland, they'll allow you to fly out with a limited amount. Just if you're flying inter-island, you'd probably want to pack it carefully away in your checked baggage. But when you fly out of Portland, you can carry it on your person. Just be sure you have your medical marijuana card with you.
Oh, okay. So I could put it, like, in the one that goes down in the belly. That's what you're talking about. My luggage that goes in the belly.
Yeah, exactly. Your checked
Not
baggage.
my carry-on, because that would freak me out. I would have an anxiety attack.
That's right.
Yeah, you can just put it in there. Shouldn't be any problem.
Okay.
Keep a copy of your medical marijuana permit with it, though.
I know I'm going to need my medicine, and it's been something
Just,
that I've been...
Just remember that you're not really covered in Hawaii and that the police could charge you with simple possession.
Okay. All right. Well, keep up the good work, guys.
All right. Thank you. We appreciate
Thank you
it.
very
Thanks for your
much.
call.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. If you have a call or a question for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. We're going to go into our show and tell segment here. We got a pretty interesting selection, I think, of course. We have this plaster. It's aspirin, salicylic acid, and cannabis indica plaster. 7 inches wide and 24 inches long. It's 20% aspirin and 10% cannabis indica. And contains approximately 43 grains of cannabis indica in 1 ounce of mass. There you have it. Next, we have a couple of items from Sharp and Dome. This is a tincture of cannabis from Sharp and Dome of Baltimore, Maryland, and Philadelphia, Baltimore and Philadelphia. It's a tincture bottle. Then next to it, we have another Sharp and Dome product. See if you can close in on that. Camera 2. This one is migraine medicine, and it's also from Sharp and Dome, and it contains cannabis and something like Tylenol and a little bit of caffeine in this migraine medicine. Right next door to it, we have 2 items from Park and Davis. This one is inside this plastic container because this is actually a package of cannabis. It's 1 ounce of compacted cannabis from Park Davis of Detroit, Michigan. It says it's a narcotic and antispasmodic used as a nerve sedative. And you're supposed to put this into a pint of alcohol and then take 1 dessert teaspoonful. And that is the dose that Park Davis recommends. Right next to it, this is a Park Davis powdered extract. This was powdered hash. And it's interesting, it's got the date on it. It's October 28th of 1918. So just after the cannabis harvest. It's got a double label here on the back, Cannabis Indica.
It's just post-World War I.
Yeah, or right, yeah, exactly, right there during World War I. And so then next door we have 2 items from Eli Lilly, another still existent pharmaceutical company. This is kind of interesting. It's got their double label with a picture of their factory, and it has a pretty, then over here you can see there are 2 different types. This is tincture number 17, where this one's tincture, what does it say, number 97, number 97. Now number 97 has a pretty detailed label on the back. It says that this is Indian cannabis. It's sometimes known as ganja and hashish and churish and bhang. It's not poisonous according to the best authorities, though formerly considered so. It's an antispasmodic, analgesic, anesthetic, narcotic, aphrodisiac, especially recommended in spasmodic and painful afflictions for preventing rather than arresting migraines, almost specific in that form of insanity peculiar to women, and used in mental worry and moral shock. It's best in hypnotic, best as a hypnotic in delirium tremens. So it was a good thing for people who were undergoing alcohol withdrawals. That's what you get, delirium tremens.
Moral
so
shock.
a couple of, yeah, moral shock and that peculiar form of insanity,
I know.
peculiar in women. That's
right.
obviously a pretty old bottle. Then next to it, last but not least, we have a current hemp product. It's a shampoo from Alterna. Alterna was authorized by the state of Hawaii, since we were talking about Hawaii, to grow a hemp garden and test garden for 5 years. And so this is one of the products that they helped sponsor it as it got started, but I guess they kind of pulled out after about a year. But they were the only commercial sponsors of that Hawaiian legislative project that went on from about 1997 till 2002, was supervised by David West, a agronomist. So that's the end of our show and tell for tonight.
Interesting. Interesting.
A couple little items there.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
I'd like the moral.
That's pretty interesting little label.
Yeah,
I just have to read that.
That was very
and
good.
this one still has its entire contents inside, but I'm not going to touch it.
No,
Leave it. Will fall apart.
Unless we absolutely need it.
Yeah, and since it's over 100 years old, it's
might not
no
be
good
effective.
anymore anyway.
That's
So.
true. How much does it lose per year? 10%?
They say 10%. I have not done any sort of those tests myself.
Which makes all those cigarettes that Elvie gets almost worthless.
Well, you know, I heard
Less
she's got newer, fresher cannabis now. They finally come out with some. They had been giving her cannabis that was over 10 years old.
Right.
But recently she started getting newer cannabis.
Well, good for her. I hope it's effective.
We have a phone call. Welcome to the show, caller. Howdy.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm actually calling in regards to, I had a friend that asked me to get some weed for him, and he is a medical marijuana patient. And so my niece is actually involved with the medical marijuana program. She said she has a website and all this other stuff. And she told me, if I knew anybody who needed any information or needed to be hooked up with weed or whatever. So I referred him to her, and she said, okay, well, I can get you 40. And when I went back to him, he was like, no, I get it for free. And she said, no, you don't get it for free. So I'm kind of wondering just how does it work in the state of Oregon?
Well, the state of Oregon, our law explicitly says that patients can compensate growers and caregivers for their expenses. Now, some patients, though, it all depends on what sort of deal you make between the grower and the patient. Most of the dispensaries, they wouldn't be in business if they had to give it all away for free. But some of us, I do that. I give all of mine away for free to my patients. And so,
where do you live? We can come get some for free, right? No.
Well, I don't have, I can't supply everybody, unfortunately. I've got to have enough for the patients that I'm actually a caregiver for. And so,
which is actually quite a few.
Yeah.
And I do have another quick question.
Go right ahead.
You guys just had a bottle on there, and it said it was for alcohol.
Yeah.
In case you were having withdrawals from alcohol.
Exactly.
I can't really smoke weed because I seem to get sick every time I do. And when I'm drinking alcohol, particularly, and I smoke weed, I'll throw up. And so, shouldn't it have an adverse effect?
Well, cannabis is supposed to relieve most forms of nausea, but, it affects different people differently.
Exactly.
And so if that's the way it affects you, then, I respect that. But I don't think it affects everyone that way. I think there's, a variety of effects. Like we read a story in the news segment about how some people with schizophrenia find they have greater cognitive abilities when they use cannabis. At the same time, I know there are some people with schizophrenia, when they use cannabis, it'll cause them to have a psychotic episode. So it doesn't affect everyone the same, but overall, it's the safest therapeutically active substance known to man. And I am quoting Judge Francis Young, the Drug Enforcement Administration's administrative law judge, who wrote in his order to the DEA to reschedule marijuana that marijuana is the safest therapeutically active substance known to man. He said it's safer than potatoes. There's a toxic response with to potatoes, but no one's ever had a toxic response from cannabis. So some people, a small percentage of schizophrenics, probably 1 out of 1,000 people on average, could have a psychotic episode in relation to cannabis use.
And to clarify, too, that first question you had, there's no exchange for consideration in the state of Oregon, and that's how the law reads. But there is, like Paul was stating, an ability for a patient to repay the expense of the grower.
But that said, there are a number of dispensaries out there that aren't really paying attention to that are still operating kind of in a gray area, and you can probably go to those dispensaries. They have a variety of medibles available, but I can't sit here and start listing them or their address or location.
I was just going to ask.
Can't do that, unfortunately. We're a non-commercial show, so I'm showing you products here that are 100 years old, not the products off the dispensary shelves here in Portland.
You sound like a clever person. I'm sure you can find something.
The Willamette Week did an article about them. It was a cover story about 3 months ago, and they had a map of about 20 of them around the state.
Exactly. Resource.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks so much for your help.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for your questions, and good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
Helping your relative there. If you have a comment or question for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4448. It's 503-288-4448.
I'd like to remind everybody out there that the Toots and the Maytals show is coming up here on July the 4th here in Portland at the Washington Park Rose Garden Amphitheater. It's hard to say, so many words, but
4th of July,
such a beautiful
Washington Park
place.
Rose Garden Amphitheater.
Yeah, and then on the 2nd of July, we will be at Eugene at
the
Lane County Event
Fairground
Center in the Performance Hall. On the 3rd of July, we will be at the Deschutes County Expo Center, and so looking forward to all of those shows. And then after that, we've got the show up in Seattle, the big boy, Seattle Hemp Fest, which will be on the 19th, 20th, and 21st of August. always the third weekend in August, and we expect a very big crowd, and we will be at Myrtle Edwards Park. We've been able to acquire our permit, so it's full steam ahead and all systems go. And then again, on Hemp Stock here in Portland, on September the 10th and the 11th, we will be having another show. We'll have multiple stages, and we'll be having a lot of fun. So sounds like a full summer coming up.
We have another phone call. Welcome to our show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello.
There you are.
Here I am. I have a question for you.
Go right ahead.
We just sold my parents' estate. They're both deceased.
Well, my condolences.
Yes.
We sold it. It's in Ontario, Oregon, and a company, a nonprofit organization called the 45th Parallel Compassion Group, bought the estate. And from what I understand, they're a dispensary group of sort. I'm not sure what. I'm all for this. I know my father's up there in heaven looking down going, right on. I knew the house would be put to good use.
Good.
I'm just curious if you know anything about that 45th Parallel.
Not a word. First time I've
Never
ever heard of it.
Never heard of them.
Nope.
Nope.
But
maybe you can tell us more as you learn more.
I will.
We'll
I'm
have
going
to
to
do a web
research it
search.
out.
Google knows all.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ask Google.
Thanks for your show. I enjoy it every Friday night.
Oh, thank you. That's kind of you to say.
Thank you. We appreciate
Bye-bye.
that. Thanks for your calling. No, I hadn't heard of them.
I hadn't either.
I'm glad that
Hadn't heard.
hopefully they'll be able to do some patients some good out there in Pendleton. I know we see patients in Pendleton. They're
Ontario.
in several locations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ontario. It's a little farther out.
But it's over on that side of the state. There's
it's out that freeway another
Oh, boy,
hour
it
or
is.
two
It
or
is.
3 or something. It's way out there.
Over the hill and through the woods, and then over a couple more hills.
So again, if you have a question for us, give us a call at 503-288-4448. We have the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act petition currently in circulation. If you can get some signatures, then go to that website, Oregon or the CannabisTaxAct.org. There it is, CannabisTaxAct.org, and you can get the single signature sheet and just sign it yourself and send it through the mail back to us, or you can fill out the volunteer form and we'll send you a package of petitions and signature sheets. So we need your help on that, and we are gearing up. In fact, our show with Toots and the Maytals, the tour that we'll have, the Hempstead World Music Festival, is a benefit for both the Hemp Stock Festival and the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act petition. So you can find out more about that at hempsteadworldmusicfestival.org. We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Yes, hi.
Good evening.
I'm calling. I'm a medical marijuana patient, and I found that I have my grower, and I'm not receiving my medical marijuana, and I'm not getting my calls returned, and I am ill. And I'm wondering what options are available and what avenues to pursue.
Okay, there are several things you can do. You can send them a letter demanding, kind of a demand letter. Then you have standing to go into either small claims court or regular claims court and seek a judgment to try to, make him pay for what the suffering he's caused you, or she who caused you in doing that. That's really the main option. You can also name someone else who you know and trust to be your caregiver, and that's not going to help you tomorrow probably. Then the other thing you can do as a fallback is try to locate some of these local dispensaries, and then they're going to charge you a pretty penny probably, but at least you'll have immediate access. But probably he's selling it on the black market, either or he or she weren't able to, they had some sort of problem. But they should tell you what the issue is. Unfortunately, all too often patients are ripped off by their caregivers. I hope that isn't what's happened to you, but it sounds like it could be.
Let me ask you a question.
This is my grower.
Let me ask you a question.
How well did you know your grower?
Yeah.
When he started growing for you, how well did you know him?
I've had him for 6 months.
Okay.
I did not know him that well at all, but I've had him as my grower for the last 6 months.
How much medicine do you use, and how much has that grower been able to supply?
And I've had some problems
Yeah.
in the past getting him to respond.
Uh-huh. I wish I could help you a little bit more. All I can do is say,
you do have some recourse. Those are good solutions you offered her.
Is to continue to try to reach him and then send him a letter. And if you can't get him to work out, then you need to find somebody else who can work out for you.
Truly.
Then there are those dispensaries out there.
Yeah, is there any listings?
Well, I know the Willamette Week listed about 20 of them in a publication about a month ago. But again, this is a cable access television show, and we have to be non-commercial, so we can't really list these medical marijuana dispensaries.
You're the third one tonight to ask, though. So there'll be a run on that issue.
Yeah.
Well, God bless y'all for what y'all are doing.
Thank you.
Thanks. We appreciate it.
And
good luck to you. And I hope you get through to your grower, or you find some way to get the medicine you need to help you with your condition.
Or maybe they're just a day away from a big crop and you're about to receive a blessing. Who knows? I hope that happens for you.
That sounds like a better outcome.
Yeah, I see him going through problems, so I've tried to be patient and tolerant, and now it's just become too much for me to bear.
I understand. Well, good luck. I'm sorry that you're in that situation. Wish that's one of the things that the legislature could address by setting up dispensaries, but we've addressed a number of those problems tonight. But good luck.
Well, thank you so very much.
You're welcome. Wish I could be a little bit more help. If you are out there and you or a loved one have a condition that qualifies for medical marijuana and you're not sure how to find a doctor who can help you, has any one of those conditions that just magically appeared on your screen there below me or in front of me, then you can give us a call. We have doctors throughout the United States and have helped patients all the way across North America. You can call us here in the Portland area at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. If you're outside the Portland area, then give us a call at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. And we have physician referral service. We'd be happy to help you locate a physician wherever you're at here in the United States. Now, I want to remind you one last time that we are in the process of trying to completely end adult marijuana prohibition and restore industrial hemp and help medical marijuana patients through our Cannabis Tax Act initiative drive. We're in our signature gathering phase. If you'd like to get more information about those petitions, you can go to that website at cannabistaxact.org, or you can give us a call at our Portland office number. That's 503-235-4606. It's 503-235-4606. Well, I want to thank you for watching another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We'll be back next week to inform and entertain you. Thanks for watching. Help us restore hemp. Good night. Here's Mr. Tim Pate.
See you next week, folks.